RuneScape party hats are by far the most rare and iconic item of all time, and that's probably never going to change. Something that was originally worthless has now become worth hundreds of billions of gold and potentially thousands of US dollars. So how did a small, worthless paper hat become worth that much? Well, the year is 2001. It's Christmas Day and you've just finished up dinner with your family. You finally are allowed to boot up RuneScape on your top-of-the-line gaming rig, loaded with that fresh copy of Windows XP. You log into RuneScape and notice there's a Christmas event going on. Everywhere is littered these small Christmas crackers. Everyone's having a great time pulling crackers and trying out all these fun and colored party hats. But nobody knew at the time that this would be the last time and last event they were ever dropped at and would shortly become discontinued. Now, a discontinued item in RuneScape essentially means that the item supply is finite. They're never going to release any more, and the supply is never going to increase. Actually, over time, it may even decrease due to people losing them, destroying them, or accounts getting banned. Now, during the Christmas event, thousands of Christmas crackers were opened and thousands of party hats entered the game, but unfortunately, people didn't keep them. They either dropped them, lost them, or their accounts were banned, and over time the amount of party hats in the game diminished to a very small amount. By the time players realized that this item was actually unobtainable and discontinued, it was too late. Most of the party hats had been destroyed. Now, by looking back through old forum posts and the Grand Exchange pricing history, we can get a fairly accurate price history for all of the party hats, and it's quite fascinating. Now, obviously back in 2001, at the end of the year, they weren't really worth anything, pennies at best. Now, their value would slowly start to increase until the following year, Christmas of 2022, when lo and behold, no more party hats are added. And people started to realize that these items were rare. They weren't coming back. And by the time we reached the beginning of 2003, most of the party hats were worth over 3 or 4 million GP each, with the purple party hat and the Christmas cracker being worth the most at around 7 mil. Throughout the remainder of 2003, the party hats would actually quickly begin to rise, and by the end of the year, the purple party hat was worth nearly 20 mil, and the blue party hat was worth around 15 mil. However, in November of 2003, an infamous glitch came into RuneScape Classic that actually allowed players to duplicate items, and the most rare and sought after item at the time was the party hat, and this glitch actually introduced hundreds of more party hats that never existed before. Now, at the time, the pink party hat, or the purple party hat now, was worth the most, so it was the first target to be duplicated, turning it from the rarest party hat into the most common. Now, the reason certain party hats were rarer than others actually just comes down to their drop rate. Now, the party hats were originally obtained from a Christmas cracker. By using it on a friend, it would give you a chance at a party hat, with the red party hat being the most common and the purple party hat being the rarest. But interestingly, after this duplication glitch, everything kind of got resorted. Purple party hats became the most common and blue became the rarest. And that marked pretty well the final time that party hats would ever decrease in price, and ever since then they've just continued upwards. By the end of 2004, their value is pretty much back to where it was before the glitch. At the end of 2005, the blue party hat was worth up to 70 mil, and by the end of 2006, the blue party hat spiked up to 190 mil, with the others following in a pretty similar trajectory. 2008 is an interesting year. That is when the Grand Exchange was introduced. And at the inception of the Grand Exchange, the blue party hat was valued at a whopping 380 mil, with the Christmas cracker jumping up to an astounding 700 mil. The prices would continue upwards and upwards throughout the years until finally in 2011, a party hat would reach the maximum cash value of 2.1 bill. Now, until this point, party hats were traded in a fairly normal way. You could sell them directly on the Grand Exchange pretty easily, and the transaction would go right through a JAGX sanctioned system, which is all well and good. However, once it reached the maximum cash amount, it became a bit of an issue. You can't sell it on the Grand Exchange anymore because it's worth actually more than the maximum amount of cash you can sell it for. So how do you do that? Well, luckily in RuneScape 3, there was something called a Spirit Shard. Now, it's pretty simple. It's just an alternative currency, really, and you're able to exchange 25 gold pieces for 1 Spirit Shard. Now, essentially what that means is you were actually able to trade up to 2.14 bill Spirit Shards, which is worth 25 times that, or 53 bill coins. This allowed players to continue to facilitate trades in-game. Although you couldn't sell it on the market, you could still do it player to player, which was a workable solution. Now, by the time we reached 2015, every single party hat has now reached maximum cash value, with some being worth up to 5 or 6 bill. Now, although there was a working solution that allowed players to trade currency for party hats, those being spirit shards, there was a few issues with this. The main one being that market manipulation became rampant. With no grand exchange to accurately track prices, people could kind of just come up with whatever price they wanted. Players started to create fake sell offers, fake completed transactions in an attempt to artificially inflate the price. This is one of the biggest pitfalls of the max cash value. What happens when things go above it? Well, there's not a lot of oversight. In 2017, the Christmas cracker hits 15 bill, and the highest valued party hat is worth around 13 bill. 2019, things continue to get crazier. The Christmas cracker has reached a price of 25 billion GP. Now, by the end of 2020, another really interesting problem has come up. The Christmas cracker and the blue party hat are starting to reach heights that I don't think anyone expected. At the time, they were allegedly worth about 50 bill plus. Now, this actually introduces another really big problem. If you recall, the maximum stack of spirit shards you can have is 2.14 bill, which is worth around 53 bill coins. And by the end of 2020, the party hats were pushing that amount, which means pretty well after this, there was no way to trade them for currency. So if you can't trade for gold pieces, because we're way far past that, and you can't even trade for spirit shards, what do we do if the value continues upwards? Well, in a lot of cases, people would just trade other rare items. And I think really across the board, this increased the value of all discontinued items because at that point, they were essentially being used as a substitute for a currency. In 2021, the blue party hat allegedly reached a price of 80 bill. Now at this point, prices really do have to be taken with a grain of salt. Who's to say what these are actually worth? These are reported numbers, but we have no clue if this is correct. Apparently by the start of 2021, a blue party hat was worth around 80 bill. By the end of 2021, it was worth apparently 190 bill. And in April of 2022, they apparently hit a peak of 300 bill for a blue party hat and 100 bill plus for all of their other ones. Was this right? I don't think so. Now since then they've dropped. Just a few months later, they're now worth half that amount. So is there anything massively that changed to cause the blue party hat to go from 300 bill to 150 bill? I don't know. It seems like a completely made up number to me. Now in the last couple of months, the RuneScape 3 team has started to realize that something has to be done here. Now I think they realized that with these items being worth so much money, they kind of have a responsibility to try to regulate it a bit. Now I believe their proposed solution is by far the best. It seems like they might actually be able to remove the max cash restriction that has been so embedded in the game since it was a Java browser game. Now, according to Jagex, they are actually able to increase the maximum amount of gold from 2.14 bill to 4.6 quintillion, which in essence has just removed the limit entirely. And interestingly, on top of that, they're also discussing adding in a 1% tax. Oh my god, getting taxed 1% in your party hat. I hope there's a cap for that, or else nobody will ever trade it on the Grand Exchange anyway. But I am incredibly curious what the difference in price is going to be from the alleged current value and its actual value once it starts to be traded on the Grand Exchange. As soon as that comes out, I am excited to check it out. So from being an absolutely worthless paper hat to being worth millions in the early 2000s to being worth billions in the 2010s and being worth hundreds of billions today, the price of the party hat continues to fascinate me, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the future as well. Now before I go here, I want to give a giant thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to March3258 who just joined the Dragon tier, joining the Hybrid, Alejandra, and Kush Patel. Thank you guys so much, really appreciate it. Also thank you to YoYoSup89, Carter, Mexos, and NDM001 for subscribing at the Runite tier. Again, thank you so much. As always, if you're looking for a way to support the channel directly, YouTube membership is a great way to do so. get immortalized in all of my future videos, and get a custom role in my Discord server. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.